Hey guys, this is Spencer. I want to talk to you today about a couple of the cooler Atari games we have. The one thing that we are super ridiculously overstocked on in this store is Atari. That little pile right there, all those crates and everything, those are all also Atari games, as, you know, we also have the ones out there and everything. I want to tell you about some of the more interesting ones that we have. The first one would be Tooth Protectors. This was made by Johnson & Johnson, and it's pretty much what you can imagine it. You are fighting plaque, and you are a protector of teeth. It's actually pretty highly sought after by Atari collectors. For, you know, most people, they're like, oh, that's neat. And then when you're like, how much is that? Oh, it's like $150. Okay. But it's really cool. It's really hard to find. One of those neat things. Here's another one. Double Dragon, you guys are familiar with on the Nintendo. This one actually came out also on 2600 and the later 7800 for Atari. Really interesting that I actually have a really good customer of mine, big Atari collector. He had no idea that Double Dragon came out for the 2600, and I don't blame him, because it came out in 1988. And if you guys know anything about like the history of games, Nintendo came out in 1985. So by the time 88 rolled around, you had Mario Bros. 1, 2, working on 3, and they're still releasing Atari games on the 2600. Double Dragon looks awful. It's the worst. There's really cool games for Atari that you wouldn't ever want to play, but you just look at them and you're like, that's cool. Like, I love Peanuts, so Snoopy and the Red Baron looks neat to me, and you have a bunch of Star Wars ones. Again, the games are mostly, 95% of Atari games are awful by today's standards. The ones that are really cool, like Kaboom and Galaxian, well, they're still cool. You have the really neat ones. I want to show you some of these. There's a lot of really weird-looking Atari games. You can usually tell the value of Atari games by how strange they look, like this, The Room of Doom. Much longer cartridge. It wasn't made by Atari itself. It was one of the third-party ones. And then you have these games. These are called the Double Enders. You actually get to, is this the one I wanted? Pikes Peak and Artillery Duel. If you want to play Pikes Peak, you put in like this. You want to play Artillery Duel, you put in like this. The one I wanted to show you is the Chuck Norris game. As much as I hate the jokes, it's kind of really funny to see a game with a really, really, really young Chuck Norris in it. Apparently he was still pretty popular back then. Of course, you have the stuff like Custer's Revenge, all the adult games. I won't show you all of them, but all you really have to do is go to YouTube. If you've never seen this, look up Custer's Revenge for Atari 2600, and you'll see some pretty bad, funny, but bad stuff. So, and there's other, I don't want to waste too much of your time. There's other really neat ones. This Gremlins game is actually really good. It's a really well-made game for the Gremlins movie, and the movie actually really rules. If you ever saw Gremlins 2 on the Nintendo, that game's also really good. One of those few movie games that are actually really awesome. Of course, there's all of the little kid games. We got Big Bird's Egg Catch and Cookie Monster's Cookie Catch. I didn't even read the title. Cookie Catch. Let's just call it that. Monster Munch. Whatever. I dealt with it significantly. You got the Smurf game. Oh yeah, that's such a Smurfy good game. Oh, there's one last one that I wanted to talk to you about, and then we will stop the video. It's a game called Lockjaw. This might look like a completely normal Atari game to you, but according to most rarity guides, it's honestly one of the top 10, if not top 5 rarest games. We're really lucky to have it in here. The reason it's rare is the company that made this, Apollo, originally put it out, and I think it was, I'm going to look back and be really mad at myself. I think it was 77 or 78. And they had it under the name Lockjaw. And all it is a game where you're underwater and you're trying to get away from this shark called Lockjaw. Well, Universal Studios, who made the movie Jaws, was like, hey guys, Lockjaw about a shark, Jaws about sharks. That's really, really close. And they went towards suing Apollo Games for that. So Apollo Games essentially said, screw you, Universal Studios, we will put out a small batch. Since these are already made, we'll sell them as Lockjaw, and after that we'll change it to Shark Attack. So you can come into Complete In Box almost any day, look on our Atari section, and you'll see Shark Attack. It's like $5. because almost every copy of the game ever was called Shark Attack. And the only difference between this game is when you start it up, it'll say Lockjaw, and on the front it'll say Lockjaw. It's the exact same game, but because of the label variation, it becomes really, really rare and really expensive. Again, for the average person, they're like, that's neat, but why would I pay $500 for it? Which is, honestly, the asking price of something like this. It could go as high as $1,000, depending on how crazy of a collector you find. But, Atari's one of those systems where I was born during the NES age, so I look back on it and I go, I don't really get it for most of the games. Like, most of the games I look at, besides, like, the Breakouts and Froggers, I'm like, these games are bad. But, for the people who were around at the time, they see, you know, awesome childhood memories. I'll end with this one. Mario Brothers on the Atari. It's the old Mario Brothers arcade game on the Atari 2600. Actually, pretty legitimately good game. Held back by, of course, the fact that the Atari is like negative 20 bits. So that's all. If you guys want to see anything else, like if you're like, hey, I know you guys have these interesting games or these interesting systems, or you want us to talk about just anything, I don't really care. We'll make a video. We try to do one a week. We've really been slacking, but deal with it.